Hello, welcome to Technoveda Solutions.
In this video, we'll discuss about loops in programming. So let's begin. So the different loops what we have in programming is for loop, while loop, and do while loop. These are the three important loops we'll be using in programming in both C as well as C++ languages. So we'll see one by one each one of them. For loop. So first one is in this loop is used to execute a set of statements repeatedly until the terminal condition is reached. That means we are going to write a set of statements inside the loop and those statements will be executed till the condition is satisfied and we can give the condition for the termination. So this will have initialization part wherein we are going to initialize the variable to of initial value. We can give any initial value what we want. Then we the second is the condition checking where you are going to check the condition whether it's going to be, for example, if it is an integer, whether it's less than, greater than, or equal to, or if it is a character string, then whether the string has reached the end of the string using a null character. Like that we can check the conditions. Then the body of statement is executed based on the condition. If the condition is satisfied, the execution happens inside the for loop. That is, body of the for loop is executed. Otherwise, it will terminate from the loop. Once it executes the body of the loop, then again the value is updated. The control variable what we have, the control variable which we are initialized to a first value, then that will be updated to the new value and again the condition is checked for the new value. Like that the loop will continue till that control variable is failed in the condition check. So this is the syntax. So you have first part as initialization and separated by semicolon, condition and the updation. So we can have one of these statement we can exempt also. If we don't want to initialize, the value is already initialized somewhere else and we don't want to initialize, then we can directly start with a semicolon also. And if you want to check the condition somewhere in the body, then you can remove this also. So it's very much possible how you want to give the for loop, but always the for loop will have these three parts, so you should separate them with the semicolon. Even if we are not initializing, we have to just put a semicolon and start writing the condition and updation. Then we write the statement inside the for loop. This is the standard format of the for loop. The next loop we have is while loop. This loop is entry controlled loop. It is called entry controlled loop. That means the condition is checked before executing the statements inside the loop, and those statements are executed only if the condition is satisfied. Otherwise, those condition will not be executed. While loop for entry controlled loop. The syntax is very simple. So while is a keyword, we test the expression here. Whatever the condition we want to put, that condition will put here. Based on the output of this condition, the loop will while will decide whether the statements needs to be executed or no. Okay. Then we have another loop called do while loop. This loop executes as long as the condition is satisfied again. The condition is always checked at the end of the loop. In do while, we check the condition at the end of the loop. Okay. Hence, the loop is always executed at least once before checking the condition. Unlike our normal while loop. In while loop, first we check the condition. Only if the condition is satisfied, the statements will be executed. Whereas in do while, the statements will be executed at least once and then the condition will be checked. Based on the output of that condition, it will decide whether the loop should be continued or terminated. So it is called exit controlled loop. So while loop is a entry controlled and do while is a exit controlled. That's the difference between while and do while. So this is the syntax of do while. Now you can see here we have a do statement. Inside that we start writing the statements of the loop. After executing all these statements inside the loop, then it will check the condition. If the condition is satisfied, again it will execute the statement. Otherwise, it will come out of the loop. These are the three loops. Now we will illustrate these three loops in the programming and we'll see the execution of statements inside the loops. Let's go to code. Now, coming to the code, so let me first clear the output window. So I'll just enlarge this a bit. So now here is a C code illustrating all the loops. So we just initialize one. I have declared just one variable called lint. Then I'm just printing the at the beginning of the loop. I'm just printing that the for loop is starts, or the for loop is starting, something like that. Then here you can see the first is a initialization where L count is initialized to 0. You can initialize to any initial value. Then I'm checking if the value is less than 2, that is a condition checking, and then I'm incrementing the L count. Now we can initialize this to initial value itself can be some 2 or 10, and then I can decrement here, or I can give any other increment or a decrement statements here. Only thing is the condition should be changing every time depending on the changes what we do. That means the L count, that is a control variable, should be updated in every loop, so that after a certain finite set of iterations we will end up with the terminal condition. It should not enter the infinite loop. That's the basic idea. So we should always make sure that we give a updation in such a way that it will lead to a terminal condition in finite steps of loops. Then inside the loop, I'm just printing the value of L count itself. So you can write any number of statements inside the for loop. For loop can be nested also, one inside the other. In fact, all the loops can be nested, and all the one loop can be nested inside the other loop. That is also possible. As and when we go for the programming, I will again show you how it nesting is done and all. Here I just show you the basic syntax and execution of the different loops. In the later, when we do a different type of programming, we'll see the nesting and how do we do the different initialization and all those things. Then similarly, then after coming out, I'm just reinitializing it back to 0, the L count. Then I'm printing that while loop starts. Then I'm putting a while loop. See here we are checking the condition of just before the execution of the statements. These statements are executed only if this condition is satisfied. If this condition fails, then these statements are not executed. So that's a while loop. That's why we call it the entry controlled loop. The entry control loop, that means the statements will be executed only if the condition is satisfied. At the entry only we are checking the condition. Then again here also I'm updating so that we'll reach the terminal condition. We should make sure that we reach the terminal condition. In normal C programming, we don't prefer having the infinite loop. We When we go for I will illustrate a couple of embedded program when I show you how to use a while loop to generate infinite loops there and how it is advantageous there. Then we have a printf do while. So here I'm reinitializing L count back to 0. Now once we write this statement, these two statements will be executed irrespective of the condition, because condition is not checked at all. Only after executing these two statements, then the condition is checked. Then it will repeat depending on the condition output. If it is satisfied, it will repeat. If it fails, it will come out of the loop. Now let's execute the code. So now here you can see that the loop is executing. For loop starts, it's executing 2 times. While loop and the do while loop all are executing two times. For because I have given the same condition everywhere. Now suppose if I give any other value, say here itself I initialize it to 2, then while loop will not be executed at all because the condition never satisfies. Now you can see that while loop started sprinting, but as the condition doesn't satisfy, it will not execute these statements at all. It will go to the next statement. But here, even if I give 2 and execute this, now you can see that these statements are executed and then the condition is checked. Even though this condition is failing, then also these statements are executed. That's because these statements are checked before the condition. That's the difference between while and do while. Okay, so this is how you implement for while and do while. And when we go for a different programming, when we are using these loops, again I will be giving you a brief about how they are working. Okay. Thank you for watching the video. Please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with your friends. And if you have any question, please share it on the comment box. Thank you. And also you can view the other playlist in the description box, and you can choose the playlist which you like. And you can also comment if you want any additional videos to be recorded. Thank you. Have a